All right, guys, I'm going to dive into Novora and really our partnership with MetaDAO that emerged in Q1 of this year. So quick background on myself. I've been in this industry for about a decade now. Started in 2016 where I started a small fund in college and ran that for 3 years, eventually closed that down and joined MoonPay in early 2020 as the first growth hire and built out a lot of the early growth and go-to-market motions for them. Was there for about a year, then made my way out to LA and worked for an asset manager in the industry called Arca. Wore a bunch of different hats there, from IR to capital raising to working with our liquid fund to launching a series of venture funds and market neutral strategies. In 2022, I had an opportunity to join Guy actually in SF over at Menlo Park. You guys probably know him, Chamath Palihapitiya. I got the opportunity to join him and really build out a long, short liquid crypto strategy for them. Really did that for about a year in 2022, and then he pulled the plug a week after FTX, which is many such cases. Shortly after that, I realized I wanted to go cut teeth on the protocol side. So I joined a company called Iris very early on and built out a lot of the early BD and growth strategies for them for about a year and a half, scaled that from 0 revenue to 7 figures in ARR. But then I launched Novora last year, originally as a principal investment firm. But what I realized, I'm much more driven than just solely investing, especially if it's off our own balance sheet. And I saw a disconnect between early stage founders and mid stage companies with the institutional side of the asset class. And I really wanted to go build something like the early Goldman Sachs days, where it was like a merchant bank, where we could kind of be this connective tissue between protocol founders and the institutional side of the industry. So that's really what we're focused on today. It's crypto capital markets and IR advisory, and then we still do principal investing off our balance sheet as well. So we announced a partnership with MetaDAO back in April, but we've been working with them closely since February. And what I realized when we partnered back in February was that there weren't that many funds really involved with Meta, Thea probably being the most notable one. And I realized that if we wanted to see this ecosystem flourish, we needed more institutions to understand the ethos and why MetaDAO is so great from the protocol level and what it really enables for founders there. So Prophet and I spent the first 2.5 months or so doing a roadshow, basically getting him in the door with liquid funds, venture funds, asset managers, trading firms, basically elaborating on the MetaDAO ethos and thesis there. And shortly after that, we started to do more protocol-based roadshows as well. So really what this looks like from the Novora's lens is we're focused on kind of 4 key things with MetaDAO protocols. First being IR, both for MetaDAO and then a lot of the early stage companies as well. So we integrate with the teams kind of before they're gearing up for ICO, and we kind of understand where the business is at today. We look at the fundamentals, the metrics, the narrative, how they're positioning themselves. We look to build out data rooms, all the kind of stuff that asset managers and institutions would want to see before making an investment in underwriting. And then we kind of go map out a roadshow. One thing I realized before I started Novora is that in traditional public equities, roadshows are very prominent before the IPO process, but that doesn't really exist in crypto. And I realized over the years that a lot of companies and protocols launched their token, but they never spoke with a hedge fund throughout the life cycle. And that's just like wrong. And we needed to kind of like iterate on that and improve the overall capital market stack of the industry. So that's a big focus for us. Lasso being our first one, and I'll dive into that next. But I think roadshows are really important because it enables the founder to educate these buyers of what the business is, what the metrics are, what the fundamentals are, what the revenues look like. Along with that, we kind of like gear up for the fundraise and the ICO readiness, kind of mature and prep everything. And then we do the actual execution of the launch and also the post-launch stuff as well too. So what we've done so far is we've had about 150 interactions with funds. We've brought on 6 net new funds over the last, call it 3-4 months to the MetaDAO ecosystem, 3 within the last month or so. And we realized that there's about 13 to 15 funds that have exposure to Meta. That's great, but our job's not done. And I want to continue to really be aggressive on that side and get more institutions involved here. And we've also seen about $30 million of capital flow into MetaDAO related projects, both that have launched and to upcoming ICOs as well too. So our first launch that we executed was with Hunter and Lasso Finance. And that was great. It was great to work with Hunter, very high integral founder. And that makes my job easier when we go out and present the actual business to institutional buyers. Along with that, we're wrapping up the Credible Roadshow. We've got about $2.5 million of commitments from institutions prior to the ICO. And then the next couple launches are Colin, which was previously Harupe, and then another one that's building an options brokerage called Dream. Lasso was great. I don't think anyone anticipated that amount of capital to flow in. So we met with Hunter back in April or May, and he wanted to raise 750K with about $1 million goal stretch. And we saw basically $26 million of capital flow in over 4 days, which was incredible. I think that was a great sign to see of just the overall MetaDAO ecosystem and the appetite there. And I think that gives us a lot of tailwinds moving into the next few launches as well too. With Credible, I know I just touched on, we have about 2.5 million from commits. We've brought on a couple of net new funds into the MetaDAO ecosystem, which is great. That's one of my personal KPIs with my partnership with MetaDAO, and want to continue to increase that month over month and quarter over quarter. And then they have their ICO gearing up on Monday, which I'm very eager for, and I don't think they will have any problem filling that goal. Along with this, one thing that we want to do with our partners, specifically on the MetaDAO ecosystem, is build bespoke like IR hubs. So if you go to any company in the public markets, typically investors.apple.com or investors.robinhood.com, they have all of the right data, metrics, materials that an investor or a prospect will want to see regarding the company, but you don't really see this in crypto capital markets. But I think that needs to change. I think there's a lot of companies that are doing good stuff here. But that's like one of my personal goals, is like really to help push mature and this industry out further. With this, the flywheel is that obviously more launches are great because it attracts net new buyers, and net new buyers participate in buying the ICO and there's trading fees that generate into the AMM pools. So just kind of just an example of like, if you were to raise $12 million, how much of potential revenue could MetaDAO generate? The engine here is that we get more startups on, get more people excited about MetaDAO. Obviously, that kind of reinforces the fee generation there. So what's next for us? We're going to continue to support the upcoming launches. We've got Credible next week. We've got a few more launching over the next few weeks. We're going to double down and support existing companies that have tokens that have launched, both from a capital markets and also just institutional go-to-market perspective. And then I'm personally working on a few things. I'm working on incubating something for the MetaDAO ecosystem exclusively. And that's something I want to do either later this year or early next year. Is I want to do an on-chain SPAC. So I want to raise like 15 to 25 million on chain, and then go buy a private company and take it public on chain through MetaDAO, with decision markets and corporate governance happening on chain, because I think MetaDAO is the best kind of protocol and way to do something like that in the public markets. So I've got a lot of inspiration from people like Bill Ackman with Howard Hughes and Pershing Square. I think there's a really cool opportunity to do that on chain with crypto rails. Just quick legal disclaimer, and then yes.